What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Talking Callers with your host, Money Mikes, and your co-host, KK.
Hey.
What's going on? Today, we're going to talk about what our co-host, our fabulous KK, does for a living. What is it you do?
All right. Well, currently, I am a dental assistant.
How long have you been doing that for?
7 years?
7 years?
Something like that. 6, 7?
You sound so sure.
I'm not good with math. You know this.
It's just numbers. It's just chance. I didn't ask you to add anything yet. Did you go to school to do what you do, or did you just go right into it?
I did go to school.
And I don't think, if I remember right, you went to a regular 4-year college. You did like a program?
Yeah, so I went to a community college because you have to have what they call prerequisites. I can't say that word.
Prerequisites?
Prerequisites. And then once you got those, then yes, you can apply for the program, and the program is a year long. So
is this something that you did like right out of school, or?
No. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life after high school.
So let's take it back, like we've been doing, like I did for myself. In high school, you didn't know what you wanted to do.
No.
Did you work any jobs in high school, though?
Yes, I wanted that money, honey.
So if I remember right, you got a car in high school. You had to pay for gas, apparently.
I did get a car, yes. I was very fortunate to get a car. But I did have to pay for my gas, so to do that, my first job ever, I worked at the Jungle.
The Jungle?
The Jungle. I think
what is the Jungle?
It's kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay, so like play areas, food,
Yes.
service.
Yes.
So that kind of fits into, that'd be pink collar work.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't like that work.
You didn't like
it? No, I think that was the worst job I've ever had.
Why? Tell us why.
I was young. I was 16, and I had no idea how to deal with screaming kids. So
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of screaming kids in a place like that.
Yes, and it was very overwhelming. So I lasted maybe a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, in that month's time, I'm super curious. Were there any injuries? Like, did the paramedics ever come because some kid broke his leg jumping from a swing?
No.
No?
I broke a fingernail.
You broke a fingernail? Wow. Oh, my God. Okay, so you were not sure what you wanted to do. You
No.
graduate high school. You're working at the Jungle. Well, that was a month. So where were you working when you graduated? Were you working?
I was actually working at, I worked at Safeway and Albertsons. I started off as a courtesy clerk, and those are the people who bag your groceries and get the grocery carts. So just a PSA, please put your carts in like those little things in the parking lot. It's super helpful to the courtesy clerks.
But it's not mandatory. I've never seen a sign that says that I had
It's
to.
not mandatory, but it's helpful. Just like you tip your waiters, like put your carts back.
Well, not everybody tips their waiters either. I worked at Pizza Hut for a little while, and trust me, I'd deliver a pizza. You didn't get tipped. You just wanted to give those people a piece of your mind.
Right? Yeah, it's just common courtesy. But then I started I was a checker, so I was the person who checked your groceries, like scanned them, and that was a pretty cool job. But I realized that is not something I wanted to retire from doing. My feet hurt at the end of the day, so.
They didn't give you a little stool or nothing. You had to stand the whole time.
You had like one of like those cushion things to stand on, but for like
those like padded floor mats.
8 or 9 hours, like literally, like you have like a 2x2 to stand in, and that's it. So it was good for the time, but it wasn't what I wanted to do forever.
So that's when you started thinking about what was next.
Yeah, that's when I met you and moved to Oregon.
Yeah.
And
I know I used to go because you worked at Starbucks too.
I did work
I used to go in there and get those like
Albertsons.
pink strawberry blended drinks or whatever they were. They were so good.
They were delicious.
They're not the same anymore.
No, they're not.
No, you made them with love.
I did.
Yes.
I did.
I wonder if all of your customers got the same ones I got, or if I just got the good ones. But I remember those days. I remember waiting in the parking lot for you to get off work. I'd be so excited to see you. I'd show up like early though, because down in California where you live, the traffic would be so bad that you'd leave. Sometimes you'd get there 20 minutes. You'd get there in 20 minutes less time than you thought you were going to get there, and sometimes you'd be late, whatever. But because we kind of just connected right away and just shared a car and lived and worked and
realized California was very expensive to live in.
Do you remember when we tried to get our first apartment? It was a
Yeah.
studio apartment, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
$2,400 a month.
Oh yeah.
We're talking in 2004.
Reality really. I think that's when I realized I was out of high school, and the world said, "Hi, here I am. You better learn to adapt."
I guess it was 2005, but still, yeah, that was crazy.
No, I graduated 2006, so
So it was
after
2007. Yeah, okay. Wow, time flies.
I know.
I was sitting here doing math, and I was like, wait, it's 2022. That would put us... We haven't been together that long. It's 2024. I mean, we have been together quite a long time. It's been 16 years.
Yes.
So, crazy.
So yeah. So then I moved to Oregon because that's where you were from, and I didn't really know what to do. I was just kind of looking for jobs, and then retirement homes, a lot of people retire here in Oregon, so there's a lot of them here, so people needed caregivers at some facilities, so I applied, got the job, and then
And then you wiped old people's butts.
I mean, there's more to that. There's more to it than that. I was promoted to being a med aid, so I was in charge of their medications and working with doctors, and doing more of that work. I did that for a long time. I did that for, I think, like 8 or 9 years. But I realized, yes, wiping old people's butts was not what I wanted to do forever.
How long did it take you to realize that? You pretty much knew right away.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. Like,
wiping their butts?
No, but like the stories, like you have these bonds that you create with some of the residents, and like the stories they tell from, because I mean, these people, like, they were in World War II, like they went through the Depression, the Great Depression. So some of the stories you heard were absolutely amazing, and like you just have these connections with them. But then the downside to that is that you bonded with these people, and they, how do I say this?
They pass away.
They expired, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
I always
really
wondered.
hard.
I could never do it for that alone, because like I see you get close. You'd come home and you would talk about Patty, or you'd talk about Jennifer, or you'd talk about Bob or Margaret. Yeah, I remember Margaret with the purple hair. Yeah. I never met Margaret, just so y'all know, but I know who Margaret is, and Margaret is no longer with us. But I always just, it was so weird to me, because like I just, you would get so close to these people and then they would pass.
Yeah.
And it would just be like month after month, like somebody passed.
Yeah.
It seemed like every month, if not multiple times a month. And I just don't know if I'd ever be strong enough to do that. But you held in there. You held it together just fine.
Yeah.
I remember that's what you were doing when you started this program to become a dental assistant.
Yeah, I was going to school when I was working there full time. So I went to school part time because, the bills had to be paid.
Well,
so I went to school part time and worked full time. And I was still like even doing like
prerequisites.
Yes, thank you. I still really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was told growing up by my family that I would make a really good dental assistant because I have the chipper personality for one. So I kind of looked into it, and what at the time I was making compared to what a dental assistant would make, that was
a significant increase.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, why not? Try it out. It's a year-long program, so...
That took you how many years to complete?
The prerequisites part time took me a while, but the program itself took me a year. And here I am, working on teeth.
So when you made that transition from giving care and medicine, and I imagine that the elderly take a lot of different medication, that must have been stressful on itself.
Absolutely.
Don't mix your Xanax with your blood pressure medication, Bob. Like, I mean, like, what? But when you made that transition, was it hard to say goodbye to all those people, or was it easier than like when they passed?
And it was my time to go. I was burnt out. It wasn't hard to leave.
Yeah.
And
when you left, did you go straight to working as a dental assistant for a doctor or a dentist?
Yeah,
or did you intern, or what was that process of transitioning from school and work to just work in the field that you just went to school for, and a different field than you've been working in?
Yeah, good question. So in school at our last term, they had us work for a couple different offices, not work, I should say intern. And I worked for a couple different offices. I keep saying work. I interned at a couple different offices. And one of them liked me so much that they offered me a job when I graduated. So.
And is that where you work now?
It is.
I know the answer to this question. I'm going to ask it because I think our listeners want to know, because this is an interesting aspect of working for a company that I don't think a lot of people realize is a possibility when you go to work somewhere. But is the company you work for still the same company, even though you work at the same place? Is it still the same company that you started working at?
No, it's not.
So what was the name of the company you went to work for out of school that offered you the job?
I
Oh.
I don't really want to say names, but so basically a doctor owned a company. It was a large practice. He had, I think at the time, 3 other doctors working for him in the same building. But he wanted to, quote unquote, retire, so he sold the company to a corporation. And then I still work, it's the same location, just a different name.
So, to point out, excuse me, I don't know what happened there. Wrong
Someone
pipe.
get him a water.
Well, thank you. So you went from working for like a mom and pop or a family, a private practice,
Yeah.
and almost like a family business, so to speak, and a corporation bought the company that you worked for, and you stayed working for them. And I'm imagining that a lot of things changed.
A lot of things didn't change, yeah. The biggest change was everyone left.
A lot of people left.
Yes. But the doctor I work for currently did not leave, so he does good. I like his work. He's a good doctor to work for, so that's why I stayed. But I mean, the benefit package is a little better because it's a corporation. But just kind of, the big guy caring about you went down a little bit, if that makes sense.
You kind of became a number.
Yeah.
Instead of a person, because you never meet the people that actually own the place and things like that. Yeah. I've worked for both family-owned businesses and corporations, and there's a significant difference in like how it works. In a smaller company that mom and pop or that family-owned business, if you will, procedures and policies aren't necessarily like written down and in a book, and it's an employee handbook that it's like if this happens, this is what you do, or this and this and this and that, because it's kind of like it's a smaller, and it's just like almost like a tribal knowledge, like we do this when this happens, or well, we could do it this way this time if you want to, whereas like corporations are like, no, we don't want to get sued, and we're going to make sure that you do it the same way every time, and if you have a problem with that, then just don't tell us and do it anyways.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know that I can say that I like one more than the other.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to both. Like, for sure, there's pros and cons. If someone calls out sick in a corporation, then you're usually fine. There's someone to cover you. In a smaller, private, family-owned something business, there is not always coverage. Like, you can't call another office and be like, hey, someone called out. Do you got anyone to spare? It's like, no, you're short-staffed that day.
Yeah, you just have to work harder and pick up the slack.
Yeah.
So, I think that an interesting point of what you do is, I've gone to the dentist many a times over my life.
You should.
And you either see the hygienist or you see the dentist. And if you see either of them, the first person that sees you typically, in my experience, is an assistant that gets the room ready or leads you to a room, and then the hygienist comes in later or the dentist comes in later and you meet with them and they do the job that you're there for them to do. But the assistant, it seems like it's their job to get the room ready, to get all the stuff ready for that. Because the doctor comes in, I swear, I'll be there for an hour, and the doctor comes in and is next to me for maybe 20 minutes, but I spend the majority of my time with the assistant and answering questions and booking appointments. And it seems like the assistant does the majority of the work.
I don't know about the majority. I mean, we're all a well-oiled machine, but yeah, we're in charge of setting up the room, going over, patient charts to make sure that the medical history is covered, that all the procedures are in order.
But the doctor's doing the right procedure,
Yeah.
pulling the right tooth.
Working on the right tooth
Yeah.
today.
Because the dentist just comes in, he sits down, he just goes right to the tooth, and
Well,
I think that
because
these
we
tooth are
prepped
numbered.
him. He knows.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You guys you come in, and if the assistant is the one making sure the doctor does his job. It always just seemed a little funny to me, and I get it. The doctors, they're the ones that poke you with the needles and give you the shots and do the drilling, and they do the work that is probably pretty delicate. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, our teeth are pretty small. I can't imagine trying to drill a hole into a little tooth like that and then fill it and this and that, or whatever it is that you got going on.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned earlier that you have multiple dentists.
Yes. Mm-hmm. In what office?
You're going to hate me. I never turn the mics on.
I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm fucking done with you.
I have a feeling that so the mics, I have powered mics, and I forgot to turn on the extra power to mic them. So this episode may come across a little bit weird. I will finish recording it and see if it makes a difference or not. But we did get 16 minutes in before I realized that I didn't turn the mics on all the way.
Good job.
Well, I think it might have worked. I've been seeing the lead levels change. So I'm pretty sure that it's picking something up, but if the sound quality on this one's trash, people, I'm sorry.
If I have to talk about the jungle again.
I know, right? Welcome to the jungle. It gets worse here every day. Okay, but no, I had a question in mind, and it's, do you work with the same doctor every time, or do you prep rooms for every doctor?
No, I mean, so it's really different, and this varies from any office is different. But for me personally, most days I work with one doctor, and then one day a week I work with an orthodontist.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know what orthodontics are, go ahead. Yeah, this is your time to shine.
Straighten your teeth.
So braces and Invisalign and like the moving of teeth, not the removal or fixing of teeth.
Yeah.
Like dentists do the cavities and the root canals and the
implants and all the...
Yeah. And an orthodontist is the one that makes your smile prettier.
Yeah, they work with your jaw too, and...
Your jaw? What do they do with the jaw?
And sleep appliances, and...
I have been with this woman 16 years. She's been doing this job for 7 years, and you would think I didn't know nothing about what she does. And honestly, I kind of don't, because I kind of think I block it out. I do not like going to the dentist. I have not had pleasant experiences.
There's so much to know about the dental field, too. That's why dentists go to school forever. Like, you could literally do a talk show alone on dentistry. Like this episode's very vague. If there's a dentist listening or an assistant, like, it's very vague.
Well, I think that was intentional as well, and I'll just put it out there now that we do plan on having a dentist on the show. And some of these questions we do want to save for the dentist, because I think it's most appropriate for the dentist to give us their perspective, their side of what they do, why they went to school so much longer than an assistant did, when it seems like an assistant does a lot of, they do all the legwork. That's why a dental assistant is a pink collar worker, a cross between a white and a blue collar, because they work with the general public.
Yeah.
They prep the general public. They do the manual labor stuff of getting the tray ready. I mean, it's not heavy lifting necessarily all the time, but I mean, they're the ones that take the x-rays. They're the ones that do most of the stuff.
Sterilize the instruments, make sure everything's in order.
And they're paid hourly. And I'm not 100% sure, and we're not going to answer this question if you do know the answer, of how a dentist is paid, but a dentist, even though they work hand in hand with the assistant, a dentist is a gold collar worker working with a pink collar worker in the same room on the same patient.
I did not know that.
So a gold collar worker refers to highly skilled, knowledgeable people such as doctors, lawyers, scientists, and also, this is the kicker too, because I don't understand how this one got in there, but young, low-wage workers who also get parental support. So like trust fund babies or gold collar workers. Like, so no matter what kind of work they're doing, if they have
still got
that trust fund, they got that gold collar on. Excuse me. Record. I don't know.
There's that water cup again.
I guess this episode's got me just...
Takes your breath away.
Hold on while I take a COVID test. No, I have no COVID symptoms. Weirdly enough, I made this entire pandemic without getting COVID one time.
Okay. Yeah.
That's me knocking on wood.
Yeah. Thanks.
So when it comes to working in the dental field, I imagine, and I've heard stories from you too, you have a wide range of patients. I almost call them customers, but patients.
Yeah.
And those
The general
patients, I imagine it's like working like I do with the general public. Like it can be difficult, it can be smooth, it can be fun, it can be frustrating.
Oh yeah.
It can be all those things. But I'm really curious to know, like, I see that the dentist that I used to go to, and like when I was younger, like it was a kid's dental,
Yeah.
and then and it seemed like I had to move off
Pediatric
it.
dentist.
Okay, so what's the youngest patient you have worked with?
I think 5.
5?
Yeah.
My
And
buddy
you
has a
really don't
5-year-old.
need to go to the dentist when you're 5. It's what we call a growth check. A 5-year-old doesn't want to sit in the dental chair, so we will probably ask them to open their mouth, and if they will, then we'll check. And if they can't tolerate it, then we're not a specialist either. So we're not a specialty office. So an actual pediatric office may have a way to have tools to work with children.
So
We
5-year-olds are not your normal everyday.
No.
Like it's pretty uncommon that you
Yes.
work with children that age.
Yes.
So weirdly enough, one thing that I do know, and it's probably one of the creepiest things that you could Google, but I do highly recommend you Googling it, and I will put a picture up on the website, just so you guys know what I'm talking about. Remember that website's moneymikes85.com. But babies are, I don't know necessarily born, but a baby's skull when they have their baby teeth.
Yeah.
If you Google a baby's skull, it's gonna have their permanent teeth just up in their skull because they haven't
yeah.
moved down yet.
Yeah.
And it is the creepiest thing to see. And if you're light on your like queasy stomach or whatever, like I probably don't go look. But I'll put it up on the website. Remember, moneymikes85.com. Go check it out. But tell us how that works for you.
Well,
Like,
if
will you
you're
take
weird,
X-rays?
Yes, but if you're weird like me and you Google that, you should Google supernumerary teeth. Go ahead and Google that and look at the images. That's when a person has too many teeth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like sharks? Like when people have rows of teeth?
Yes.
Yes, that is creepy too. I have a friend that cannot look at that
cool.
without vomiting.
Oh my god, it's the coolest thing.
It is so gross.
I got into the dental field, I think, partly for the weird stuff like that too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I did not know that was the technical term for it.
Google supernumerary teeth.
Supernumerary teeth. I'll tell you what, we'll put a picture up of that as well on the website. So that way if you don't have to necessarily Google it, you just got one-stop shopping. But I'm sure you'll be able to find all kinds of different variations of that. I've seen some crazy like maggots in the gum line. You know, like you're watching Discovery Channel or something.
Well, yeah, we're not third world.
Yeah, right.
I mean, even people with bad dental hygiene, I've never seen that. But
what's the oldest person you've worked on?
I mean, close to 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they still had their teeth.
And that was impressive in itself.
That is
they
amazing.
still had. And we did a root canal to save a tooth. So
wow.
Yeah, it wasn't even an
What
extraction.
color were those teeth? Were they still white?
Yeah, I mean,
They
weren't pearly white. But
I know after years, like 100 years of drinking coffee and possibly smoking cigarettes or whatever people did at that time.
If you're almost 100, you probably were a light caffeine drinker and didn't really smoke a lot.
I don't know. I'm nowhere near 100, so I'm not even halfway there yet. But yeah, that's crazy. Almost 100 years old. I don't know why I just thought of it, but what a shame Betty White. She just almost made it to 100. But like to put that into perspective, folks, she worked on Betty White basically, really good teeth. Right? She didn't work on Betty White, but put that there. So when you went to school, and now you're working in dental, do you still have to, because medical advancements, I think about like, there's
continuing education.
Yeah, well, yeah, because like they're always learning new stuff. It's a type of science, I mean, it's like science. Like there's always new stuff happening, or new medicines, or new procedures and stuff. So do you have to continue your education? And how often do you do that?
Once a year, you need 12 credits of continuing education.
So when you become a dental assistant, you don't ever necessarily finish school.
No, you have to continue learning. I mean, like you said, the medical field is always growing, thank God. You always want to keep making things better, keep making things more comfortable for the patient, make things last longer. Yeah, things are always growing and changing.
So this just came to mind, and it's like a traumatic experience that I had with a dentist. We tried the whole you sitting in the chair next to me as my assistant, and we realized like that doesn't work.
No, I got so nervous. I'm over here. I was like, oh, I just met this cute guy for the first time. Like, what? Like,
and of course, I'm over here.
My job?
I'm over here grabbing ass and shit. You know, like, she's like, "Stop! We're in the office." But like, so my most, and I'm curious. So you're the dental assistant is the one that holds that little suction cup thing, or that suction tube thing, right? You like.
Make sure you don't drown.
So you know that little dangly thing in the back of your throat that who was it that talked about that? Cardi B? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. That little dangly thing in the back of your throat, your uvula. I did
not suck it up.
It wasn't you, but I had a dental assistant suck it up with that little suction tube thing one time, and it hurt so bad. And the lady was just like, "Oops," and pulled it off. I didn't trust her the rest of that session to have that suction cup thingy in my mouth.
She didn't even turn off the suction. She just pulled it out.
She didn't even turn the suction off. She just pulled on it. It hurt so bad.
So there's a little switch that you can easily flick with your thumb to turn it off. Oh. That would be much more polite.
I wanted to take that thing out of her hand and shove it down her throat and be like, "How do you like it?" But, so after the last one where you talked about you being a weirdo and those numerific teeth or whatever.
Supernumeric.
Yeah, that. I had a question jotted down that I wanted to ask you, but now I'm almost afraid.
Let's hear it.
Because I have a feeling that I'm going to bite off more than I can chew. What is the grossest thing that you've ever had to deal with? Because people's mouths are nasty.
Which one do I pick?
You got...
Okay.
Well, give us a couple then. If you got more than one, I want to hear like some of the gross stuff that you've seen.
So, when you have an abscess, that's an infection at the apex of the root, so the tip of the root. That's where infection likes to grow and manifest and hide. But sometimes, people just don't have access to dental care sometimes, so they wait a while to come in. And if you think about a pimple, when you have a really big, bad pimple.
Just a juicy.
Or like Dr. Pimple Popper, where you pop a pimple, and it literally is milky white and it oozes. It's not just a quick
in your mouth.
Spurt. In your
mouth.
So the worst part is the smell. The smell, even through our N95 mask sometimes.
That's right, because you wear all that PPE.
It smells like death. Like if someone was like...
Well, it is rotten, right? It is the rotten, but in essence, this is a rotten infection.
And it's just a huge hole in your mouth after we pop it. But sometimes we have to make an incision and cut it out.
I didn't know I was going to be bringing Dr. Pimple Popper the second onto my show, but
that's kind of cool to see. And then sometimes when we have to do sinus lifts, so if you need an implant and you don't have enough bone, if you think about a screw going into a piece of wood, you need to have the wood be so thick or it's not going to hold the screw tight and in place. So sometimes we need to make the bone bigger and thicker to hold the implant. Well, we need to push your sinus up. So we drill a hole in through, you go in, open your lip up, or hold your lip out. We drill a hole in through the side of your mouth, and we ask you to breathe so we can see your sinus inflate like a balloon and deflate so we can see that we haven't ruptured it, and pack bone in there to push your sinus up.
And where do you get this bone from?
It's
Are you taking it out of someone's thigh?
It's cadaver bone.
Cadaver, like cadaver. So for those of you who don't know what a cadaver is a deceased person. And you know how, for those of you that have a license or have got an ID card from your state, they usually ask if you want to be an organ donor. That's what they're talking about. When you pass and you have that, yes, I'll be an organ donor checked on your ID card or your license or your registry or whatever it is, that's what you're signing up for. May long live Margaret. And hopefully she's in someone else's mouth.
I have an embarrassing story. One time, I had to call a patient and explain what cadaver bone is, but I was really fresh out of school and I was nervous and I was making a phone call and leaving a voicemail, and I said that the bone was MacGyver.
MacGyver bone? We're gonna MacGyver your bone today, folks.
The dentist was standing right next to me, and he said, "You need to call that patient back because
It's not MacGyver.
It's not what it is."
We're not MacGyvering this. It's cadaver. That's hilarious.
That's the most embarrassing thing.
I do that sometimes too, where I'll use the wrong word, or sometimes like using a word that no one else knows. Like
Yes.
I've been in both sides of that, where I'll use a word that no one else knows, and then you're like having to explain it, or like the really rare times where I use a word because I'm parroting it, like I've heard it and I knew what context, but I don't actually know the definition. Then someone calls me out, I'm like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, Google it,
Yeah.
But the misusing the word is embarrassing. I get you on that.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that long ago I used the word topography, and one of my friends was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Topography is like the lay of the land, like the ups and downs. So on a map, if you're looking at a topography map, it's the heights and where mountains are, the lows, the valleys. It's not just a flat surface. It gives you like the topography of the land." But yeah, no, I totally get what you're talking about there. So, I want to kind of wrap this episode up. I want to talk about going to the website. I know I've been just shoving that down your guys' throats, but there's a lot of good information there and great ways to keep up with everything. Be sure to check us out next week. We do have a guest.
Ooh, our first one.
His name is Corey. He works blue collar, and we'll save what he actually does for the episode, but you're not going to want to miss it.
No.
I've known Corey for like 30 years, and I'm pretty excited because we're just new to this, and we already have our first guest. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me really feel good to
Yeah.
know that like we got people that support us. So thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you listening to Talking Callers. Remember, word of mouth is huge. So if you like what you're listening to, tell somebody that you know about it. See if they don't like it as well. Lord knows I'm telling everybody I know. I'm trying to get as many people to listen to it, and it's a little nerve-wracking because I'm like, what if they don't like it and they know me? Are they going to tell me they don't like it, or is everybody just going to be like,
hopefully.
you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you're like buying a new pair of jeans. You're like, does my butt look big? And I'm just like, well, whether it does or doesn't, I'm saying you look good. Lie to me. No. So
Constructive criticism.
I want my friends to be honest with me. But that being said, thank you so much for showing up for this episode 3. We appreciate you all. Y'all mean the world to us. So just keep sticking around.
Thank you.
I'm sure that we will get better at this as time goes. So it's grow with us.
We're not bad right now.
Grow with us. That's what I'm saying. Grow with us. Until next time, this is your host, Money Mikes, and this is KK.
Hey.
We're out.